I had been working really hard, but he's a little bit late, stuck in traffic. I was going to have Ludacris come in and say the champ is here, but since he couldn't make it, I have to say it. Julianna Peña, she will be fighting Kayla Harrison, defending the women's bantamweight championship on June 7th, a week from today, at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Champ, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Lots of media to do, and I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me again, Kevin.
Absolutely. Always enjoy talking to you, Juliana. And I get, I'm looking at the odds. And so I got it. The big question, she's a 6-1 favorite. You've been talking about she might be taking something to boost herself up or whatever. You afraid here? What's going on? Is the champ afraid?
No, the champ fears nobody. I've never feared anyone in my life except God himself. I have been a bigger underdog in the past, I believe. I think at one point I was an 11-1 underdog with Amanda. So it's not something that is foreign to me to be a giant underdog. But with that being said, it's not just me, it's everybody that says something about the steroids. And since I've been fighting in the UFC since 2013, never has my opponent being on steroids ever been such a hot topic or something that a lot of people are always asking me about. So either they see what I see, or maybe it is something that's true, because since I've been fighting since 2013, they've never asked me these questions before. So I don't, it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility.
To be fair to her, she has never failed a test. She is just a natural big person. So let's just put that on the record there. So we have that. And the reason that I kidded around and said, "Are you afraid?" was because I was going to get to Amanda Nunes, right? I mean, that was the fight where the greatest of all time, and Juliana's, you're just there because she had to have somebody across from her to fight, right? And then you end up with, the performance of a lifetime. How do you replicate that when you get to such a high and you beat somebody who, let's face it, Amanda's done more than anybody, right? So how do you replicate that again? And does the experience of having beaten somebody at that level help you going into this fight?
Well, I cannot replicate that same thing because it's a completely different opponent who comes with a whole nother bag of challenges. But with that being said, Amanda is such a well-rounded and complete fighter. And when you get in there with her and share, the octagon for as long as we did, it's like there's absolutely nothing to fear because I've taken it from the best of the best who had way more weapons in her arsenal than I believe that Kayla has. And so I am just going in there focusing on myself and what I know that I can do. But when you get locked inside of there with, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, it gives you the confidence, of course, that you can get in there and they can throw the whole kitchen sink at you and it's not going to matter because I'm going to keep coming. God willing, I almost had that armbar in the fourth round with Amanda in
Yeah.
our second fight, and I wasn't able to get it. And she got out of there by the hair of her chinny chin chin. But man, I was inside that fight the entire time, fighting that complete 25 minutes, even with the cut on my face and even with the blood pooling in my eyes. I was never out of that fight.
Yeah. What a fight
And
that was. Wow.
it was,
Never.
and I think that just having that type of experience is something that I will be taking into my fight with Kayla. That gives me confidence.
You were in your fourth consecutive title fight, so I'm going to leave you out of this question when I ask it. I think a lot of people would say the three greatest women's fighters of all time: Amanda, Chris Cyborg, and Valentina Shevchenko. You have fought two of those three. What do you learn by fighting people who have gotten that recognition and have done so well that people talk that way about them, that they are the GOAT or, right there alongside the GOAT? How does it help you tangibly in your fights and make you better having experienced that?
It just again is that pat on the back that I can get locked inside that octagon with anybody. When you have a belief in yourself and the faith that I have, and you know how much hard work you put in and dedication and how much passion you have for the sport, it's really easy to say all that's left to do is to just let me off of my leash and go to work. The barn, the hay is in the barn, as they say.
Right.
And there's only one thing left to do, and that's for me to go do my job and for that pin to close inside that octagon.
When we think of like some of the greats, you think of Amanda with that great striking, and I know she had other aspects to her game. You think of, Ronda when she had the arm bar or whatever. I don't know that there's one thing that Juliana is known for, right? But you just seem to be able to, whatever the situation calls for, kind of pull it out, right? And do you take pride in that fact that, well, you're not known as, hey, the great jujitsu fighter or the great, judo player or the great striker. You're just a great MMA fighter. Like, is that what you take pride in?
No, I try not to have any pride in anything. Every dog has its day, and the pride cometh before the fall. I
Mm,
just know that no matter what, whenever they are in a fight with me, they remember the day that they faced the Pena Power. And I don't think that I'm easy work for anybody. They literally have to be able to knock me out or submit me in 20 seconds. Otherwise, it's going to be a long night in the office, and I don't care who you are. And they
right.
know that. And they know that.
And Kayla knows that, right? I mean, no matter harsh words between the two of you, but you got to think that there's a lot of respect there from her side towards you.
I don't care what Kayla thinks about me or what her I guess viewpoint is on me or anything like that. I don't concern myself with the opinions of others. I just focus on my beliefs and what I think about myself and what I think about the things that I'm going to do in order to get my hand raised.
What do you make now of being on somewhat of a regular schedule, right? Like, you're not fighting every 18 months or once a year, even now, now you're on that kind of regular schedule. Does that make you better? And do you feel like you're going to be better against Kayla just because, you've had that routine and you fought, had your time off, went back to camp and now we're going again?
I think that we both were off for the same amount of time and we both fought on the same night. So we both
Right.
fought in October and we both had the same amount of time off. I don't care what lie she tries to convince herself of, oh, she just found out about the fight last month. That's a lie. She's been knowing that we've been fighting since that night that I won in October. And, this has just been long time coming. So I don't take, the ring rust or, I've had a long time off or I've been more active or anything like that. Her and I have both been knowing that we were going to fight each other that night.
Are you one of those like when you see the other women like that night? So UFC 307, you won the title against Raquel Pennington that night, won the title back. You see Kayla backstage, you're kind of giving her the little look like, are you eyeing up your opponents when you see them around, or even future opponents?
No, 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 no. I was obviously on a terror to coax Amanda to come back into the division. But of course, being the lazy person that she is and wanting to, watch me do her dirty work first and sit back from the sidelines, I think that, she was more than willing to say, no, you guys go ahead and duke it out and then I'll come back. But we'll see what happens after June 7th, what she plans on doing.
No, what? No, wait a minute. Did I hear you say lazy person that she is?
I'm just saying that I knew that she was retiring too early. I knew that the promotion believed that she retired too early, and I knew that she was going to miss the sport and she was going to come back. So it would have been better for her to just say, I want to take a break instead of retiring and giving all the antics of, the laying down the gloves and, somebody giving her the Oscar with the dramatics and everything like that. Just say you need a break. You're not done and you're not retiring. You knew you retired too early. I don't even know what you would call it when you retire too early and then come back into the promotion. And to me, it's just unnecessary dramatics that I don't think needed to happen. I think she should have just said I needed a break instead of, doing the whole retirement bit.
I'm looking at your record here. If you win this fight, you fight Amanda next, right? That will give you, since 21, Sarah McMahon, an Olympic medalist, Amanda twice, Raquel Pennington, a champion, Kayla Harrison, a two-time Olympic medalist, and then Amanda again. That is something that, whatever happens else in your career, that I would think that they're going to talk about you down the road because of the challenges that you've stepped up and faced. And I didn't even mention that you had Valentina Shevchenko well before that.
Yeah, since I won the Ultimate Fighter, I have always been fighting the top competition inside the UFC, and that's been since 2013. So I've never turned down a fight. I've never walked away from a hard fight. I have always faced any opponent that the UFC has laid out in front of me. I feel like I've had the hardest road in order to get to both of these titles. And, you know, when you have been doing this for as long as I have been doing this, whatever they whatever I accomplish, I have a feeling that they're still not going to, give me my flowers, and that's just, the nature of the beast. It doesn't
At
matter
least
if
when
I
you
go
make
in
that
there.
Hall of Fame walk, then they will.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter if I go in there and like slay the head right off the beast. They're still gonna say, "Yeah, but she was whatever the excuse is gonna be." It's just always some sort of backlash and disrespect for me for whatever reason. But I don't let that play too much into the way that I'm going to go out there and perform.
I have two questions for you about the Ultimate Fighter. Then, so that is 12 years ago, right? We're in the 20th anniversary year now of Ultimate Fighter One. So, two questions about that. Number one, Miesha was your mentor on that show. She became the champion a while after that show. How has things changed in your personal lives, given you're now, you've kind of surpassed the mentor, right? The mentee has surpassed the mentor, and you're the champion. Like I mentioned before, you're in your fourth consecutive title fight. Has that changed the dynamic between you guys at all?
Not at all. I have nothing but utmost respect and great and gracious things to say about Misha, and I always will. There's always that big nod of respect towards her, and I know that she feels the same way. And so, whatever I'm doing or whatever she's doing, I know that we're genuinely happy for each other, and that's the only thing that truly matters is just that ultimate respect between us.
What advice would you give her? I don't know if she's asked you or not, but if she did ask you, what do you think I should do? She's contemplating walking away from the sport. Dana White always says, if you think about retiring, you should retire. What would you say to Misha, knowing her as well as you do and what she's accomplished in this sport?
I wouldn't say anything to her. I would probably be asking her for advice, but at the end of the day, Misha is a grown woman. She's extremely intelligent, and whatever she decides to do, she knows that I'm going to support her and have her back in whatever that is.
And then last thing, when you look at the Ultimate Fighter, what impact do you think it had in bringing the women's division to where it is today, right? Do you think the Ultimate Fighter has played a big role in getting women's MMA? And do you think that talent is appreciably better in the UFC now than it was when you made your debut? I think it was Jessica Rakosi, right? So do you think it's better now than it was then?
I definitely do believe that the competition is a lot stiffer now than it was back then. With that being said, being on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter in 2013 and being the first woman to win The Ultimate Fighter is an accomplishment that I will always hold near and dear to me, because if it wasn't for that, then nobody would know who Juliana Peña was. I would just be another girl in the division, and there's 500 or plus something more than that fighters inside the UFC, and I'd just be another one on the list of fighters. Dana never allowed women to fight in the UFC, and he gave us that opportunity to be on the Ultimate Fighter in 2013. So without that, I don't think that the division would have been as exploded as it did after that show, and it being the first division in the UFC that was allowing to women to fight at that weight class. So we were the first weight class. We're, in my opinion, the most important, because I obviously fight for this weight class. But I just think that the fights are awesome. And let me clarify, at 25, at 15, at 105, it doesn't matter. I know that there isn't a 105 division, but women fighting, the more women that have come along now since then is incredible. These girls are getting
Right.
into wrestling and jujitsu at such a young age now, and they're just absolute killers. And you look at how much it has evolved, instead of it being a rare thing of these girls fighting in barns for a 3XL t-shirt like I had to do.
Yeah.
I see these girls competing and they're getting paid and they're starting at such a young age, and it's just a beautiful thing. We need more women in the sport. So at any weight class that you fight in, if you're a woman in mixed martial arts and you're taking, the route of becoming a fighter seriously as a career, you have my absolute respect, because I need more eyes. I need more women. I need the sport to continue to evolve. And the only way that you do that is by inviting more women into the sport.
And you should look at, Juliana didn't mention it, but you should look at not only the first woman to win the Ultimate Fighter, the first woman to win the Ultimate Fighter and become a mom, the first woman to win the World Championship and become a mom, right? So that is a sign for other women that you can do both.
And to win a championship be the first one to give birth and go back and coach the Ultimate Fighter and take three Team Peña finalists into the finale and sweep the whole show. So I was the first to do that too. There's been a lot of firsts with me in the UFC. And again, they don't want to give me the flowers, but that's okay, because I know, and that's the most important thing.
As Ludacris said, the champ is there. June 7th in Newark, New Jersey. You can see her against Kayla Harrison, UFC 316. Julie, always great to see you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good one. I appreciate it.